So, y'all, it is only 8 days into 2025.
Yes.
Which, I'm like, okay, all right, we're rocking, we're rolling, but the news, as we know, it stops for no one. And already, wild things are happening in Washington, D.C., because the inauguration is in less than 2 weeks. And we were chatting yesterday, and it feels like we're at this weird moment where it's like, wait a second, have we shifted from a time where culture influences politics to a plot twist? Now politics is actually influencing culture. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to get more into that in a moment. But I think it was highlighted already this year in some ways.
Definitely. I mean, what better witness to how politics and culture are affecting each other than at an awards show? Award season is upon us. Mm-hmm. And on Sunday, the Golden Globes happened. And there were...
Phones are going off.
So sorry.
All of the updates on culture.
All the updates on what's happening in culture. And there's no better witness as to what was happening than at the Golden Globes on Sunday. And there were a number of highlights, lowlights. We don't have to get into all of them, but I do want to touch on a few. First off, one of the most shocking parts of the Golden Globes was this movie, musical, dramedy that took home Best Comedy or Musical. It beat Wicked, which shocked everyone.
Wow.
And it is called Amelia Perez. I don't know. Do we have a clip of this ready to go?
No.
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless.
Sorry, Lisa.
No, it's okay. Amelia Perez is a movie musical about a drug cartel that, get this, wants to become trans. So she enlists the help of a lawyer and they sing about it. And there's ridiculousness about the music. And Selena Gomez, Zoe Saldana are in it. Very popular people. And they're just going off about this very specific thing that not many people can relate to. Mm-hmm. And it was just very shocking because I don't think many people even heard of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've never even heard of it. It's very random. And of course, then you have Wicked that's just dominating.
Right, yes.
And you think musical, you think Wicked. But, okay, so is this like musical like Hamilton or musical like... Not everything is sung. It's like a variety of acts, like Les Mis, where they're talking and singing. Like, what are we? What are we talking here? Because Virginia and I don't think we are not. Our pulse is not culture; it's politics.
Well, I've had the fortune of not watching this movie.
That's beautiful.
Yet.
That's good.
I've seen clips on Twitter from
Yeah.
X, but I do believe that they sing a good portion of the dialogue, and it's ridiculous. It's not masterful. And you know what? Credit where credit's due. If I don't agree politically with something, but it is created well, that's where I'll give credit. But if anyone looks up a single clip of this musical, it's not even that put together, especially in comparison to Wicked. You know, you see it everywhere. You can't avoid it, but it is, love it or hate it, it's well done.
And Wicked is.
Yes, Wicked.
Whereas this one is not as much. Mm-hmm. It's just like the virtue signaling behind it, but it still won.
And it really begs the question, how did this win? Who's voting for it? And I thought that we left, straight white guilt in 2024. I thought we left it in 2023, to be honest.
Hollywood's always going to try and bring that back. I mean, I think the American people left it behind, but Hollywood's like, no, let's run that back one more time.
They're like, we're going to try it again.
And so it really begs the question, are we going to give any credence to this judgment this year? Are people really going to be turning to this movie and thinking, what?
I mean, I feel like people don't really put a lot of stock in, to maybe a certain group of people,
right?
But most people, I feel like, don't put much stock in the award ceremony.
I had a friend in college that was obsessed with the award shows. Like, she watched all of them. And I remember thinking, wasn't this on last week?
Yeah.
And the fact that Wicked, in my opinion, not that I don't think I've seen most of the things that probably received awards at this show, but Wicked, I went into it not really wanting to see it. I think we had a conversation. I went and saw it with one of our mutual friends, and I came out of it and I wanted to defy gravity. Like, I was in it, and I have been singing the songs, so I'm shocked.
You were inspired, and that's the point of art, to inspire, not to, wag a finger at you. Brainwash. Mm-hmm. But, talking about people that don't care about what everyone else thinks. Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
She's been killing it, and she braved the red carpet, no makeup.
We have a picture of her if we want to throw that up on the screen. But like you said, I was very impressed. There's no makeup. Her skin was literally glowing. So I was like, all right, she's definitely no makeup, but like she's using some real nice skincare.
This also
creams.
isn't the first time she's done it. She just looks
Is it
flawless.
not?
No, she did it another time, right?
She's on her press tour for the new movie that she's in, and she's just kind of been, rocking the bare
there we go.
face look.
Glow.
Just
and,
the glow.
Obviously, she's a celebrity. She has access to resources, skincare that the average person doesn't.
Some work, maybe a little Botox here and there, a little tip the neck, but still, like
no, makeup's
very
an
impressive.
accessory.
Yeah, it is. But
And she looks gorgeous.
She looks gorgeous. But we obviously have to talk about the biggest moment from the Golden Globes. The biggest moment. Let's get Zendaya on the screen. I'd love to get her in the studio one day. That's probably, I won't say never. You never know. Maybe Zendaya, you want to come on?
Let's put it on the 2025 bucket list. Yeah. Zendaya, we're talking to you.
My word. I literally, when I saw this in the news, I was like, no, it can't be. Like, it was such a, in many ways, classy way to break the news, I thought.
Oh,
just,
definitely.
Like sporting a big diamond
I remember
on the red carpet.
everyone on Twitter, the moment that she walked on the red carpet, I just started seeing my feed fill up with her iconic orange dress. Now it's iconic.
Yeah.
And her with her just subtle hand on the hip. And everyone's like, is that an engagement ring?
Yeah.
And then,
On her left hand.
the internet zoomed in. They're like, it doesn't match any of her other jewelry. It's huge. Her and Tom Holland have been dating for, I don't even know how many years now. But
Since Spider-Man Homecoming, I think that's where they met. Or maybe, was it Homecoming or was that the second one?
Well, so they met, that's a good question. Well, so they met on the first Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they've been dating for like 5-ish years.
It's been a while.
Oh, it's probably longer. So they became public in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been public for now 4 years. But in reading up about it, per TMZ and People magazine, the engagement was like very private. They intentionally did it very privately. And it was thought it was funny. They were like, one of Zendaya's family homes. It's like, I don't know how many they have. And yes, the family wasn't there. It was just the two of them. And it was very intimate and sweet, which is obviously indicative of their whole relationship, that they have tried to be very private, which I greatly respect and admire, because I think they are trying to not be every other Hollywood couple that obviously doesn't last. And they're trying to do it differently, which I respect.
100%. And I definitely think that Zendaya is one of those actresses that, on the tail end of my Disney Channel era, I grew up watching her. And like Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, even Selena Gomez at some point, I really, you just come to expect that these Disney starlets are going to fall off the rails at some point, have a wild child moment, and then maybe come back, Oh, she looks gorgeous.
I know.
But
It's stunning.
Zendaya, as far as I know, aside from maybe starring in Euphoria, she has had a pretty wholesome public image as a person. Maybe not the characters that she's played, but as a person, she's had a very wholesome and understated image. And I really appreciate that. She's not going out there and saying, like, everyone needs to be like me. And if you're a Disney star who didn't follow my path, like, shame on you. She's just, living her life. And that's indicative of the times, I think. You're not seeing anyone do it like her. She's a trailblazer, in my opinion, in the way that she's carried out her personal life.
Classy, I think, is the word I would use to
Definitely
describe
classy.
Zendaya. Very classy woman. Wow. Okay. Well, if you are joining us for the first time today in 2025, ever, welcome. This is Problematic Women. I'm Virginia Allen.
I'm Kristen Eichhammer.
I'm Elise McHugh.
We all want to talk at the same time.
Yeah.
We're just excited to be here. We're excited to be back with you guys here on Problematic Women. Every week, we make it our mission to bring you news, culture, the stories that, as a problematic woman, aka a conservative woman, you care about and are interested in. So we are so honored to be kicking off the year with you in 2025, talking about some of these major shifts that we're already starting to see and what really might be entailed in the year to come. So as we jump into Tea Time, aka our kind of politics segment here on the show, it is the kind of big question of, okay, Trump was elected, and are we seeing something we haven't really seen before, at least not in our lifetime, where we've moved to a trend where now culture is no longer in the driver's seat, but politics is shifting culture, because we've seen for years, right, that that culture has played such a role in political views and opinions. I mean, you think about Americans' views on everything from gay marriage to divorce to sex to even the food that we eat. That has all been heavily, heavily influenced by movies, by music, by television, some of it in good ways, some of it obviously in not so good ways. But now it's like, wait a second, are we seeing this trend be flipped on its head?
Right. I think what's really exciting right now is with this thesis that we're kind of digging into this episode of, is politics shifting kind of the culture more so than what we've seen in the past. And I almost don't want to call it politics, because it's not exactly politics. It's just more of an awareness from, amplifying the voices of micro influencers and influencers online, and having more voices rather than just, the big celebrities. Like, we don't have Miley Cyrus coming out and saying, oh, I feel this way, or Demi Lovato saying, I'm trans, and if you don't like that, then you hate people. Like, we don't have those voices amplified as much because there is such a diverse group out there. And that's why what we're seeing with Meta and Zuckerberg's statement, I'm not sure if y'all caught it yesterday, is huge, absolutely huge. And you can say whatever you want about what inspired it, because this is, I am feeling a little bit of whiplash in 2020. Obviously lost my job and dug into kind of what influenced the election. And Zuckerberg gave $500 million to election offices. So very confusing on what exactly motivated this shift. Yeah. But what we're talking about, we have a clip actually, so we can hear straight from the horse's mouth from Zuckerberg. I say we just cue the clip.
Yeah, let's hear from Zuck himself.
Yes, Marky Mark.
Complex systems is they make mistakes, even if they accidentally. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms.
So that's straight from Meta CEO's mouth. This is also the Meta CEO who censored Trump up until he was a nominee. Literally kicked him off. I'm not exactly sure where the facts lie in this sense, but Hunter Biden's laptop, that was suppressed. And that was largely due to the systems that he was just discussing. So very interesting. Trump just won, and Mark Zuckerberg is making these huge changes, implementing community notes. Like he said, trying to fine tune those filters to ensure that there isn't as many mistakes as what we are seeing. And I think like the craziest part from that statement is he said, we're restoring free expression to our platform. So he's admitting that there was not free expression on the platform. But I mean, just craziness. Have you guys ever experienced one of those little tabs or sensors while using one of his apps?
I know from my personal experience with our lovely Tim Kennedy running the Daily Signal social medias that we've had to integrate tiptoeing around censorship.
Misspellings intentionally.
Misspelling. That's all I've known my whole entire time in the journalism sphere. So to hear that, I never thought I would hear that. But yes, it's whether it's we intentionally got flagged by a fact checker or in our daily postings, we have to make sure that we're not saying a trigger word that's going to set off the fact checkers to just flag our content and shadow ban it. That's just been the name of the game.
Yeah. Well, I really do have to give some credit to Mark Zuckerberg here. And, you know, you have to look at, okay, there's a conversation to be had of, at the end of the day, I do think money drives so many of these decisions. Absolutely. And he knows, for one, from a policy side, like, I don't want all of the government that is now in Washington, D.C., fully controlled by Republicans as far as having majorities in the House, Senate, and the White House, to be breathing down my neck for the next 4 years. And very clear message, which he admits. And I think that's the part that I appreciate, that he admits post-election, we kind of saw where the American people were. We recognized that they're really done with the kind of policies that we've embraced at Facebook. So for him to admit that openly, I'm impressed with, because I think what we usually see is like, well, we're changing our policies because, and, you know, and then you get sort of this jargon of, you know, whatever. So I'm glad that he was honest of like, yep, we're changing because the American people are clear. They want to change. And at the end of the day, you do know a lot of this has to do with the bottom line. And he doesn't want to keep losing users who are recognizing, wait, X is letting me use free speech, so why don't I just go over there instead of being on these other platforms?
It's also the risk of future advancement too, right? AI is about to be huge. President Trump has said that multiple times. And obviously, you know, we have Elon Musk is one of his, I want to call him a political advisor at this point. He doesn't have that title, but he essentially is.
Yeah. No,
and he changed the game for this campaign. So when we have, like you said, an entirely Republican run government, an AI is our next, you know, big social media, or I don't even exactly know how to define it. You don't want to be the person that they're regulating the most, that they're most hostile towards. And I think you're right. He's waking up. And I mean, I don't love what he's done in the past. He's definitely abused power before, but now he's bringing leaders like UFC CEO Dana White, who is awesome and a champion of you know, free speech and conservative values. So he's surrounding himself with the right people. Whether or not he fully, you know, pulls the trigger and ends up being and delivering on the promises he's made, I'm not entirely sure, but he's moving in the right direction.
He's moving in the right direction. I mean, there's shakeup happening everywhere in big ways. It feels like we've taken a snow globe already at the beginning of the year. And we're like, yeah, let's do this differently. And that's true not only for the United States, but Canada.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Canada.
Oh, Canada. So Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, it was on Monday, right? I think I'm remembering that correctly. It was Monday. Yeah. He announced his resignation both as leader of the Liberal Party in Canada and as Canada's prime minister. And I think it's been about a decade that he has been in that position. And obviously, you know, we know Trudeau as being this very far left leader that's really pushed a lot of socialism agendas in his country. But he was honest when he announced his resignation that he's pretty much resigning because he knows he can't win another election. So let's go ahead and roll that clip.
I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
Now, I clipped these clips, and you guys are probably like, why did Kristen clip the beginning part of that, the first few seconds where he's saying, I was talking to my family over dinner, and I told my kids that I made this decision. And that is because this shift is not just political party, but also politicians and how they're talking. We're seeing this return to nuclear families and, marriage and just traditional values. And I thought it was so interesting that he started to integrate that into some of his speeches, perhaps trying to buy goodwill with the majority of Canadians who haven't agreed and are the reason he can't win. Just a thought in his resignation speech.
Okay, that's fascinating because I had the thought when I listened to the full speech and he mentioned sitting down to dinner with his family and telling his family while he was at the table having dinner. And I was like, that's funny. I was like, I wonder if, like, it's a very normal thing to say. And at the same time,
we've never heard it from him.
And it's a very intentional language because it sort of switches in your brain back to almost this like 1990s, the family gets home and you all sit down and have dinner together at the table. And maybe they do that every night, and good on them if they do. But in speeches like these, words are chosen very carefully.
Definitely.
I think that was intentional.
I'm willing to bet that not only Justin Trudeau, but many politicians actually do live a very normal nuclear family life. But because of how crazy the past 4 to 8 to 12 years have been politically, with how progressive it's been getting, they actually haven't been allowed to talk honestly and genuinely about just how they live their everyday lives. Because
That's a good point.
I do think that this is just the majority of politicians, if not Americans, if not just Western civilization. This is how they live their lives. And they haven't been able to talk about that normally. They haven't been able to talk about, oh, my wife and my kids and my dog and my picket fence, because that paints a picture of quote unquote heteronormativity that the loudest voices on the internet really don't like. But now that they have lost control, Trudeau can say stuff like this.
Well, it goes back to this message that was sent with the election, right? Of, oh, wait, I can kind of speak my mind. And Trump has, I think, just given so many Americans permission. They're like, oh, wait, like I don't have to keep it a secret that I'm pro Second Amendment or that I'm pro traditional values. Like, it's like, oh, I can say that out loud. Or even that you're a supporter of Trump. I think so many people were very afraid to say that until the election. And then it's like, oh, there's more of us than I thought.
Right. Instead, we're hearing, and I mean, again, we're not saying that Trudeau has made this beautiful character arc now he's perfect. And the next clip will show you why. The norm has been attacking the other side. And Trudeau does, what he does
He's
in
the
this
OG
next
of
clip.
that. Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
So that was about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. And the tone even is so different. He's talking about something that really his base, that's what radicalized them. And that's what empowers them. And that's what they scream. That's why they put the pink hats on in Washington and walk around when Trump was elected in 20. Or
They're about to do it again.
Yeah. I know. I'm trying, maybe I hold my tongue so we don't give anyone any ideas. But just the tone shift, he was so quiet and calm in that first clip. And then in this one, he's like, I am a proud feminist. And he's almost yelling it. Like, okay, we get it. We get it, dude.
Well, I think that's what we've seen from the radical left for so long is they have dug in and they've dug in and they've dug in. And in a way, it's like, well, good on you. You've stood by what you believe.
Yeah.
And so that's great. But it's like now they've realized we went too far.
The ship is sinking.
Well, and you think back to COVID-19. I mean, Canada was one of the worst countries during the pandemic. They literally, in many ways, put their country in house arrest. They really did. And you had that trucker convoy that was this massive protest across Canada of these truckers who were protesting vaccine mandates for truckers. They're sitting in their truck alone. They don't leave them alone.
6 feet.
Just totally insane policies, the crazy lockdowns. And Canada used a policy called the Emergencies Act in order to give access to not only haul their trucks away, but literally to freeze their personal bank accounts.
Right. Wow. Oh, that was terrifying.
It's
Apocalypse.
Terrifying. Yeah. And a judge actually, I think it was last year, ruled that was breaking the law, that was an overreach of government power. And so I think it's just
no kidding.
No kidding. So Canadians are clearly done. And so Justin Trudeau is like, yeah, if I stay as leader of the party, the Liberal Party is not going to be in power for much longer. And the Conservative Party, in all likelihood, is going to win in the next Canadian election. And, well, you could argue, sure, I think that party has done a great job of speaking out and really pushing truth. In many ways, the party in Canada, this Liberal Party, has self-imploded. Like, they've done this to themselves.
They have like a 5%. The candidate that is supposed to run against the more conservative, I think, has a 5% like chance of winning at this point.
Wow.
If I'm looking at the polls correctly.
Yeah.
It's almost like something that happened last June, July, a certain president and female vice president.
Oh, who? I have no idea what you're talking about.
It is funny. It's like, oh, I'll run that back. But speaking of Canada, it has been entertaining is probably the most appropriate word to use to see Trump starting to talk about Canada.
Oh, he loves it.
I don't understand. I really don't entirely. But his talk of Canada being the 51st state. What do you all make of this? His talk of Canada, his talk of acquiring Greenland, of also like renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, of retaking the Panama Canal. It's really interesting language. He was using a lot of it during his press conference on Tuesday. Is he serious?
I want to know what you have to say first, because I kind of have a controversial take on this. So
interesting.
Controversial takes. All right, Kristen, sound
well,
off.
yeah, I mean, I can pop off for a second. First of all, let's reflect on the campaign. We kind of were talking about this yesterday, and I love how this is just consistent with what he's been doing with each nominee. He's been teasing an idea, seeing if it's popular or not, and letting Americans say, and Canadians, and Greenlandians, I don't know what they're referred to as.
Greenlanders?
Greenlanders? Yeah, that sounds like
nice.
Outlander, though. So, I think, he's communicating with Americans. Something that popped in my head when I saw this was, that old meme, well, it's only a year old, that's how many times do you think of the Roman Empire each day, right? And for a while, people were talking about the threat of America being like Rome and us falling and us not continuing on with our great legacy. But
Still a threat. We have to be
still a threat. Still absolutely a threat. It's one generation away. But, now we're talking about expanding like never before. America was never this big before. And we're trying to expand our empire, if you will, into Canada and into Greenland. But the strategy behind all of this too, like we'd be controlling the Arctic Circle a little bit more. We'd have a foothold there militarily. Yeah. We'd have new resources like never before. We've already NASA has some spots in Greenland, so like we would just be re-solidifying our foothold there, really. And then with Canada, let's talk about oil for a second, and the fact that most Canadians like Trump. Like I was texting my friends from Canada that I've known for a while, and they were like, "Bring it on! Let's be. I want to swear the citizenship oath." Like. This is a popular idea, surprisingly. And yes, it might be a joke at the end of the day, but there are strategic advantages to expanding, like what we're seeing right now.
So we're going to end with your hot take. So my hot take is this is a marketing campaign. Like Trump is the master of marketing. And I do think I
think I stole your point earlier. Sorry.
Oh, no, you didn't. But I do agree with the fact that he loves essentially like crowd testing an idea. I'm like, all right, what do
this is one
think?
Big MAGA rally.
It's in a way. But I think he knows that saying things that many people view as pretty outlandish, as probably not very practical, because I think Canada, at the end of the day, leadership has zero interest in actually becoming a part of America, and Denmark has no interest in giving us Greenland, and like all these things. At the end of the day, he's very fascinated by keeping his name in the headlines. It's a part of campaigning. It's a part of politics. And Trump has proven since, when he very, very first began expressing interest in running for president, like a decade ago, he has done a phenomenal job of keeping his name in the headlines. And I think he sees this as a really strategic way to do that. Maybe there's a tiny part of him that's serious about it, but I don't think so. I think this is Trump, the master of marketing at work.
I will say the Greenland thing, though, is not the first time America has tried to go after Greenland.
Sure.
Yeah, President Truman tried to. I think he offered $100 million to Denmark, and they were like, no. But this isn't the first. It's not like he just pulled this out of thin air.
Yeah, it has come from somewhere.
I believe he also floated the idea in his first term in 2019, so it's not a new idea for Trump himself, but I personally think, you guys actually kind of touched on it a little bit, so I guess we're all in sync. But
We're all on these hot takes.
I think, we've talked about all of last year during his campaign how Trump wants to surround himself with the best advisors this time around, not people who have ulterior motives. And I think, kind of like you said, crowd testing, I think not only Trump, but people in his administration are using the public's reaction to gauge whether or not this would go over well. And I'm not saying he's like, sounding off on Twitter and seeing how outraged people get, seeing what ratio he gets on likes versus comments, but that's the voice of the American people. Social media, what people on the news are talking about, what people on podcasts are talking about, how their opinions on this. So I think, like you said, he knows how to keep his name in the cultural zeitgeist, gets people talking about it, gets people to care about Greenland. Like, I didn't care about Greenland before a few days ago, and really gauges the temperature on how people are feeling about this, so that can inform his decisions. I also think, on New Year's Day, when Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk started sounding off about the H-1B visas thing, I don't know what came of that, but that really got people talking. And whether or not they are going to go through with whatever they were saying, you really got to see how the American people felt about their policies before they enacted any change. So I think this is something that we could see a lot more in this administration.
It's almost like
big ideas.
It's almost like the new fireside chat, right? It's actually being transparent with Americans and trying to figure out what they want, which is such a radical concept.
Well, I do want to take a second. Let's throw the picture up of the Gulf of Mexico, because I think that's
a Gulf of America, you mean?
So it is just humorous to me that Trump wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. But you can see from where the Gulf of Mexico is right now that it does touch, obviously, both America and Mexico. So probably the most appropriate name would be Gulf of Americas, because Central America and North America, it touches both. That is not, it's not like the most, it doesn't roll off your tongue. Gulf of Americas. But that maybe I'll pitch that idea to Trump. I'll just let him know. Like, hey,
when you get called into the Oval,
next time we're chatting, just mention that.
I saw someone on Twitter rename Greenland as Mara Igloo.
That's hilarious.
Mara Igloo. Oh, that's hilarious. I wonder what the flight time between Mar-a-Lago and that would be.
Oh, yeah.
Exclusive
fast,
airline.
Actually.
Yeah, not too bad. But it touches more of America than, I think it touches more of America than Mexico.
It's about equal.
I'm going to say it's not.
Well, because I think because it also touches some other Central America countries look like. So
yeah. Gulf of America's better.
We'll see what happens with that. Always entertaining. And this shift has even started bleeding into Capitol Hill and lawmakers on Capitol Hill. So on Tuesday, the House voted on and passed their very first piece of federal legislation in the 119th Congress. Ooh. So for freshman lawmakers, this was their very first federal piece of legislation that they were voting on as a sitting member of Congress. Exciting, big day for those folks. And this was a critical bill, and I think it was a very appropriate bill to be the first bill passed in the 119th Congress. It was called the Laken Riley Act, as we've talked about in detail on this show. Laken Riley was a Georgia nursing student who was murdered by an illegal alien who had crossed the border illegally, had been detained in New York, but then was released and moved to Georgia and took an opportunity, literally, in the words of the prosecutor in this case, went hunting the morning that he killed Laken Riley, went hunting for females and killed her while she was out on a jog. And so this bill that was voted on was very specific. It really did two things. It said that ICE has a responsibility to seek out and detain, to arrest illegal aliens who are guilty of theft-related crimes or who have been accused of committing theft-related crimes. And then secondly, it also gives states the authority to sue individuals in the federal government who are not enforcing immigration law. But the most interesting thing, speaking of this shift, is that there were 48 Democrats who actually joined Republicans to vote in favor of this piece of legislation. Now, it was voted on in the 118th Congress, and there were some Democrats then who voted on, but there were actually Democrats who flipped their vote, who voted no last time and voted yes this time, which is very interesting. We've already seen in the Senate that there's several Democrats who've expressed that they will consider voting for it. John Fetterman, Democrat of Pennsylvania, he is actually co-sponsoring the bill in the Senate with all of his Republican colleagues. So there's also this shift even around issues that previously was like, all right, this side does this side does this, but this is a really common sense bill. Like, it's very common sense. It's essentially already things that should be happening anyway. ICE doing their job to detain individuals who have entered the country illegally. I think that is their job. So it's something that I think is indicative. To see this vote so clear is very indicative, again, of this shift that we're seeing. Like, wait a second, we're returning to common sense, and things that used to be very maybe politically divisive, well, maybe they're becoming less so.
Well, and it goes back to, maybe this is kind of the counter argument a little bit for the question we're talking about today with, does culture shift politics or vice versa? Or is it at this moment? I think in this case, absolutely culture has something to do with it. The American people handed Trump, but also Congress, a mandate. And a huge factor in all of this was the fact that a woman that could be any of us, truly any of us, was killed, murdered, brutally murdered by a horrible person that shouldn't have been in the country to begin with. And there were so many things that could have happened to prevent that death that didn't. And Americans were outraged. And that is why I think we're seeing this huge flip by Democrats. Thank God there's some common sense, because they don't want more people to end up like her. And I hate to say that, but it's just what it is. And I think this couldn't have happened at a better time, because her birthday is January 10th. Representative Mike Collins from Georgia, he's awesome, he was on the floor reading a letter from the family who said the same exact thing. And I mean, I just think that's a beautiful tribute to her. Obviously, it would be better to have her than the bill, or it would be good to have both. But what a tribute for a woman that has honestly changed America more than many women have.
That's true. That's really true. Yeah, I think it's appropriate to roll that clip.
Let's roll it
from Collins, because it is really powerful to hear him speak about what the family had to say about.
He's from Athens, but we'll forgive him.
Go UGA.
An excerpt from a statement from the Laken Riley family. The Laken Riley Act has our full support because it would help save innocent lives and prevent more families from going through the kind of heartbreak we've experienced. Laken would have been 23 on January the 10th. There is no greater gift that could be given to her or our country than to continue her legacy by saving lives through this bill. Every single member of Congress should be able to get behind this purely common sense bill that will make our country and communities safer. Mr. Speaker, God help us.
Oh, man. I love that he said, or in the letter, they said, save others, or I don't exactly remember the exact phrase, but as a nurse, right? That is what, I think that's in the oath at some point in their medical oath. And I just think, again, beautiful, beautiful tribute, and so close to her birthday. I hope we see more bills like this that are common sense. I think we will too. Like we saw, how they took a bill from this much to this much. Like, I want more of that. Let's do more of that and actually create change.
It's so heartbreaking to hear that letter. It's not fueled by propaganda-y words. I mean, they said she would have turned 23. I just turned 23. To think that she was an ordinary girl. She had hopes, dreams, aspirations. She had to graduate during COVID. She, finished college. She had her whole life ahead of her. Yeah. And then this tragedy happened. Yeah. It's so heartbreaking that something so ordinary could just shake up the entire country. But, silver lining, God has a plan for everything. Hopefully, like you said, this is the start of something extremely new in the 119th Congress.
Yeah.
Send a prayer up for her on the 10th, too, if you're praying.
For her family, yeah.
For sure. Happy birthday. Wish her family well.
Hard day for them. the shifts have continued.
Yeah.
And we've even seen that, I think, in part because of situations like what happened to Laken Riley, a lot of people just being willing to kind of speak out. And we've even seen that with celebrities who have decided, okay, I'm going to switch, well, maybe not switch party, but for the first time maybe speak out and be like open about my political views. And that's been wild to see. So lots of changes. We're going to get a little bit lighter here, though, in a second. We have a game.
Yes.
But before we get there, we want to give a special shout out as we jump into 2025 to one of our favorite brands here on Problematic Women. This is not an official sponsor or anything, but we love Garnu. Garnu is feminine hygiene products, and it's a subscription model. So you sign up to receive a box of tampons, pads, panty liners, all of the above every single month. And I'm a subscriber. Let me tell you, it is so nice to not have to once a month be like, oh shoot, I forgot to buy tampons. Like, let me go run out to CVS or whatever as you're like madly searching through your purse of like, do I have any left? So it is a great company, and they not only use organic materials, so it's good for you. Number two, they're also giving money back to individuals in Nepal who need support, women who need support there, who need resources. And then third, they have drawn a line in the sand to say that women are women, only women have periods. There's no such thing as a person who menstruates or, whatever. They have really stood up against so much of the attack on femininity and on women. So we are so proud to support Garnu here. Look them up. Garnu, get your subscription. Garnu is spelled Garnuu. Look them up, sign up for their subscription. They're awesome. Great thing to do in 2025. You will save lots of time and hassle having to go buy those products.
Also Maha.
And Maha. Yeah, get all those chemicals out of your life. All right, we have a game.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm not sure if y'all have seen the trend. It is what's in versus what's out. And I mean, you could take this anyway. I've seen like funny ones, I've seen movies, I've seen whatever. But we all took a second to kind of decide what's going to be in versus out for 2025. And so what are we leaving in 2024 and never touching ever again? And what are we embracing in 2025?
I mean, I don't even say never again, because everything comes back around.
Fair. Like the Justin Timberlake song.
Love that song.
You posted about Justin Timberlake.
I think I posted about Justin Timberlake like once a month.
Oh my, that's so funny. Why Justin Timberlake?
I think he's actually an underrated musical genius who kind of seems a little mainstream if you think about like, I don't know, suit and tie or whatever. But like, he's really good. He's like it's the John Mayer effect.
I know he's really good, but like
maybe he's
it's
in
like
for
my
2025.
generation. Like,
Justin Timberlake in.
he is in.
Watch his Tiny Desk. It's amazing. He's talented. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But-
All right, are we starting with ins or outs?
I think we start with let's start with outs.
We're starting
let's
with
get
outs.
rid of the old and let's
All right.
do it.
So, ripped jeans.
Ooh.
I think that already started going out in 2024. It's fully out in 2025. I do think it's going to come back because everything comes back.
Yeah.
But people are not wearing ripped jeans anymore. We're going classier. Get those ripped jeans out of your closet. I mean, do what you want to do. I don't know. Your life. But no more purchases of ripped jeans. We're just keeping it classy.
What about like the hems on the bottom of the jeans? I
Being
kind
a
of
little frayed?
like a little fray.
No, I actually have a lot of fray on the bottom of my pants. So I think
well.
for my sake, I'm going to say it's still
No bias.
Okay, so for me, one of my outs, microtrends. Please,
Yes.
Lord, microtrends be out.
Explain what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who don't know what a microtrend is, it is a very short-lived trend. Think, how 70s was bell bottoms, flowy shirts, but that spanned across an entire decade, essentially. Microtrends are trends like that are compressed into maybe 4 to 6 weeks, inspired by TikTok influencers, social media influencers, and you might have heard them referred to as blank core or blank era. So, for example, last year, coquette ballerina core was in, mob wife core was in, and it's just, it's profiting. Temu, Shein, Forever 21, they're all profiting fast fashion because they're catering to these very specific, really trendy things you'll see on any college campus, all the girls wearing the same thing, and they look cute, but then it all ends up in the landfills and Goodwill, the microplastics that are getting into your body from all these really cheaply, quickly made products. And we all look back on it and think like, oh, why did I
what was I thinking?
Why was I wearing that? It's just and it's not like it strips everyone of their individuality because it looks very tacky and you're like, well, that's not even what I look like. So let's please leave micro trends, Shein, TikTok, all of those just like make your brain scrambled eggs type clothing choices back in 2024 and just be authentic. Wear what you want. If you want to dress like mob wife all the time, please go for it. You look
for
so
like
good.
a party, it's fine.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing soon.
But if you're like thinking about, oh, what am I going to wear when I go out? You look at your closet full of like the Brazil t-shirt or the tutu and he's like, you have a lot of clothes, but it's not in. That's not good. And it's not good for your wallet. So
staple item, having the basics. Actually, one of my outs is in line with that. It's fake enhancements. And so I'm thinking more, I think people still like short nails are in, but like you can still get your nails done. I have my nails done right now, but the fake eyelashes, like the super big fake eyelashes, or like the implants, the lip God, I hope the lip injections go away because I mean, just what poison are you putting in your body? I don't think Botox will ever go away, but I don't think it's going to be the solution for everything. Like, oh, you grind your teeth, let me put Botox in your jaw. Like, I think, and I hope that I mean, hand Botox is a thing too. That's a huge industry.
What do you need hand Botox for?
Because my grandma used to say this actually, you can always tell someone's age based off of their hands because they usually neglect it. So make sure you're lotioning and sunscreening your hands. But yeah, so I think the enhancements that are a little too crazy, a little too far, especially for each age group. I don't think we're going to see as many 20-year-olds get Botox, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I was going to say my next one is very similar. It ties in with what you just said and what you just said. And overarching would be toxins. Ooh. So getting like household toxins, whether it's in those cheap fabrics or whether it's the like weird chemicals that you're rubbing on your body. Like I think as part of the Maha movement, more and more people are like, wait, what do we have in nature that we can use in order to keep ourselves healthier, to know what we're putting on our body? One of my goals for 2025 is to start the process of getting toxins out of my house because it is a big deal because it's it's your cleaning products, it's your skincare,
it's your feminine products,
it's your shower curtain, even your clothes. There's tons of plastics in yoga pants I recently learned.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did switch brands because this one was better. So hopefully that.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll report back.
Beef tallow, as we talked about at the end of 2025. Like I think more and more people are going to be getting on that bandwagon.
Or just like coconut oil, stuff like that. There's so many alternatives.
So many alternatives.
Yeah.
Let's get these toxins.
Another out that I have, it's not a physical toxin, but it's a mental, cultural toxin. Let's get smutty movies out of the theaters.
Oh,
I cannot tell you the number of times I went into a movie with a friend, with my boyfriend, and it is just a movie that seems good and it's about something interesting, and then I'm attacked with a 3-minute sex scene. Or I
didn't ask
full nude.
It's the worst when I'm like hanging out with my parents and something comes on and I just have to pretend I didn't see it.
Look at your phone scroll.
I mean, it's just where it's not necessary, and I don't know where it is necessary, but it's just it's
not
tacky.
It's just not necessary.
It's tacky, and it just kind of seems out of place, and it never fits the theme of the movie. I don't think we need that garbage to always be in every single piece of media, and I think that our culture will benefit from a less sexualized culture, and that can start with the movies that we watch.
Do you know what's crazy? I actually learned this from someone who used to like help write certain segments of books for well-known authors, and she didn't do this, but she said that authors will sometimes hire specific people to write scenes in like that, inappropriate smutty scenes into their books because they don't want to do it. And it's like, okay, so why are we having it in that book at all?
Like, if you don't even want to write it, then why do we want to
Exactly.
read it?
Yeah.
It's inauthentic. And also I'm going to have to fast forward like 2 minutes in my audiobook when you do stuff like
that. It
that.
doesn't add anything.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
doesn't add
interested.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Another out I have is it's a twofer.
It's a twofer.
So like luxury beliefs, and then right with that, right, is the coddling and victimhood mindset.
Okay.
And I actually
Explain.
Okay, so I started with the luxury beliefs, and that is, oh, we need electric cars and we need to save the environment because, it's going to die tomorrow. And I'm not saying I don't want to save the environment or be like efficient energy wise. Like that's great.
Turn out the lights when you're not in the room.
No, totally. I do that all the time or else I will get mad at myself. And, you put the heat down when you're not at home. Like those common sense. Also, good to your wallet. However, just because, your governor or your president and vice president tell you to buy an electric car doesn't mean you have to. That's a luxury belief. That is a luxury thing. And it's also not necessarily solving the crisis of climate change that they're talking about.
Not at all.
My second part was that victimhood mindset. And I actually was inspired by the Wall Street Journal, where they did an expose on 2 California students. And it was basically their reawakening of, I was fed these lies in school that because I'm Black, like I need to be scared when a dog barks at me. Like if a dog barks at me, it's because the owner and the dog is racist. Wow. And I'm realizing that that's not necessarily true. And I think because of, school choice, because of people just being more aware of what's going on in academia, we're going to see less of this victimhood mindset. Hopefully Taylor Swift embraces that eventually, although it is a good business model for her. So who knows? We might always have that victimhood mindset situation. No hate towards her, but hopeful that is long gone.
Yes.
All right, should we switch to ins?
I think we should.
What is in? All right, so one of mine that I have coming in 2025 is marriage.
Good.
Inspired in part by Tom and Zendaya. Because they kicked off the year getting engaged. Good on them. But I do think that as we're seeing a shift on all fronts back to a little bit more class in society, back to embracing the masculinity of men, back to this really joy around protecting what goes in our bodies and on our skin, that there's a natural progression there to kind of recognize that some of these traditional values, some of the ways that maybe our parents or our grandparents lived, there's actually a lot of beauty and value in that. And my hope is that that's going to mean that more and more millennials and more Gen Z say, I think marriage is a part of this equation, that as we're talking about how do we empower society, how do we create a culture that we want to raise our kids in one day, okay, well, healthy families are the foundation of that. So let me embrace marriage. So it's partially like a declaration of like, all right, for my generation, Elise, for your generation, let's do this. Let's get people married this year.
I've noticed amongst Gen Z, my Gen Z peers, there is a culture that is very pro-marriage, whether that be my former fellow interns at the Heritage Foundation, they're like actually getting engaged, to some of my more liberal friends who talk about, oh my gosh, like I have baby fever and I can't wait to own a house. And it's just it's not necessarily like this is trad and this is in, but it's just like, it's like you said, it's a desire and it's honorable, and it's a way to like honor yourself. So yeah, I definitely think that's in. Something that I don't know if it's in, but I would love for it to be in. Make social media casual again.
Oh.
My sister will occasionally send me, and she is 30, she will occasionally send me screenshots of like 10 years ago, 15 years ago today, just something that she posted to her Facebook wall, or one of her friends posted to her walls or something like that, or a random tweet like, I just took a really good nap. Like, I want to know what's going on in people's lives. I don't care if you think it's mundane. Like, I think it's so lovely. So just please, the random tweets, whatever's going on in your day, just saying hi to somebody in a public forum, just like be shameless about how you're,
maybe not shameless.
Maybe not shameless. Yeah. Just use social media to connect with people again, not just to like, be a peacock showing off like you, but use it to connect with people again. I love that. So please tweet at me.
It's funny because I literally went through some of my Facebook posts the other day, and I was like, "Oh my, what the heck was I like? Why did I put that?"
I need to take some of them.
No, I did.
No,
I just
you need
went
to
through.
re-up them.
No.
Is what I'm saying.
High school Kristen doesn't need to re-up them.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I fully agree. I do agree on like it's nice for it to be more casual.
Yeah.
Like it's nice to see it not as a marketing platform for yourself, but more as just, hey, I'm sharing my life.
I'm expecting
Yes.
Elise to do like this for a truth is. Something like that.
Like and comment for TBH and rate. Let's bring that back.
I'm not nowhere near what you just said. My in is manly men. You
Yes.
know, I think we kind of saw the cowboy era, and I know not everyone loved that. Actually, my boyfriend hated the cowboy era. He's like ready for it to be done. I loved it. And I love like embracing the role, kind of like you said with marriage, of and embracing the role of a man in his place in society, the way they look different, the way they act different. It's okay, you know, to be however you are, but also don't be inauthentic because society's telling you to. Don't, you know, tape yourself being a girl for 500 days because you think that's going to get you a Broadway show. Like that just enrages me.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to go to my next one because it kind of goes, not really, but I think steak is back in 2025.
Yes.
Like, let's stop
Red
growing
meat.
weird things to eat. Like, fruits, vegetables, whatever, that's great. But God made us and he gave us all of these animals because he wants us to eat them. And I
gave
think
us-
we're going to.
Give us teeth and forks on the end of our arms. It was never out for me.
And then my last in, sorry, I'm just telling you them all. Christianity. Christianity's in. People are wearing their crosses. People are going to mass,
to faith.
church brunch, return to faith. Just like you said with the marriage thing.
Yep.
Christianity is in.
I absolutely agree with that. I think people are searching for that value, that truth. Amen. Christianity is in 2025.
Let's do it.
A little bit of a hard pivot.
From Jesus?
But economic growth. This goes to the policy side. But I do think you mentioned Gen Z wanting to buy a house. I think that there's already this mindset and hopefulness with Trump coming back into to office of we're going to have mass economic growth in the next 4 years. And I think people are really excited to start making more investments, to using money well, to saving. So I think both at a national level, there's going to be a lot of economic growth. But I also think for young people, there's a little more interest in finance these days.
Definitely. I mean, I am in my first townhouse. Oh, granted, it's the top floor. I'm not living large yet.
Okay.
But in college, I lived in a quote unquote luxury apartment, and just the difference and how much more human it makes me feel versus just, you know, a robot that was meant to be in this little box that's all white. Like, it's beautiful. I do have to deal with a lot more, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm going to speed run my last two
hit us with
ins.
them,
please.
Okay, they are not super related, but the first one is podcast walks.
Ooh.
It's part of Make America Healthy Again, but also I think that, you know, Gen Z has a really bad problem with attention span and also just following through with things. And I think podcast walks are a perfect remedy. You don't have to sit down and read a book if that's a little too much for you, although, come on, let's work on it.
Start with an audiobook, maybe.
Yes, but like audiobook walks, podcast walks. I mean, you could definitely listen to this episode and get your steps in.
Yeah.
Get outside.
Go listen to some other episodes too.
Yeah, while you're at it, just get your legs moving, get the fresh air, really enrich your mind, and just use that hour of your day to its fullest potential. That's like a big fraction of your day that you could be using really productively and really easily. It's really easy. I love podcast walks. And my last one, I think we need to bring more conservatives onto Dancing with the Stars.
Oh.
Sean Spicer got very far and he was very entertaining. Nobody saw it coming. I think we need to get out all the random celebrities that nobody really cares about. But because think about who still watches reality TV. Actually, reality TV in general, not just Dancing with the Stars. And it's not like they're going to be talking about politics on there, but I think let's humanize political parties a little bit more. And liberals always have the opportunity to do that. So let's get more conservatives strutting their stuff, doing a little tango, a little Viennese waltz, and the viewership is going to go up. I trust.
All right. That's a
love
good
it.
one. lots in and a lot's out in 2025. And thank you all for joining us today for our first episode back. Thanks for being in with us in 2025. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on brand new shows wherever you're viewing, watching. We release every Wednesday on YouTube and Rumble. If you're joining us there, thanks for watching. We love having you be a part of our team as we sip our tea. Hopefully you're enjoying a cup of tea as well. And we also release that across all podcast platforms on Thursday morning. Don't forget, again, like, subscribe. It means so much, and it really helps us spread the word to more and more listeners and grow the show.
If we missed an in or an out, let us know too.
Yes.
Go comment. I think we're going to post on social media too, so go comment.
Yes, follow us on Instagram.
At Problematic Women, right? That's what it is. Yeah, go follow us, and have a great week, guys.
Have a great week.
Thank you.